it is my pleasure to introduce to you your MC for the evening, the 2019 Humorous Speech Competition winner, Paul Bruno-Forte!
Hey, what's up, Toastmasters? How you guys doing? Are you guys ready to have a great fucking time tonight? Huh? You like this? The French Connection, United Kingdom, came up with this great idea about having a logo that says fuck. And they think they're fooling everybody. What they didn't realize though, see those dyslexic people? They're looking at me saying, look, that guy's got a shirt that says fuck on it. How did he do that? But tonight you may hear a lot of language because this is sponsored by Blue Toastmasters. And this is a comedy club. And anything and everything goes tonight in the comedy club. So judges, they are not going to be taking off any points for colorful language or anything that goes on here tonight. So be prepared. This is really interesting. And you know what I love is how French Connection United Kingdom made $1 gazillion just by switching around a letter. How did they do that? So is anybody here fooled? Do you know what this is supposed to be saying? Well, you know what I love is when I see people, they stub their toe or they hit their finger with a hammer and they go, ah, shoot. Like we don't know what they're trying to say, right? And where's Paul Pastore? He comes into Toastmasters, it's 115 degrees outside, and he says, boy, it's freaking hot. Paul, you're fooling nobody. We know what you're saying. So tonight, there's probably not going to be anything disguised. And you know, one of the things that I kind of get a kick out of is people who, when they hear the word fuck, they're like the Wicked Witch of the West when she got sprayed with water. Oh, I'm melting, world. It's just a word. That's all they're saying tonight is just a word. And for me, I grew up in New York. I grew up in New York City. And in New York City, the word that they have for cursing is talking. If a New Yorker is talking, they're cursing. And when I was a little kid, you know, my mother is very demure. When she's outside, she's very polite. But in the house, 500 square foot little slum apartment where she couldn't escape us, I thought when I was 10 years old, I thought my name was Little Fuck. Really, she would have the wooden spoon and she would go, stop that, you little fuck! Now, my name wasn't always Little Fuck. It was Little Bastard, okay? And then, you know, if you curse in front of your kids, what's going to happen is they're going to curse outside. So I went outside and I called a kid a bastard. He says, I am not a bastard. I have a father, and bastards are kids that don't have fathers, bum, bum, bum. So I checked the dictionary, and he's right. So I go home, and I said to my mother, Ma, is Dad not my real father? So after she smacked the shit out of me, she stopped calling me Little Bastard. So for a very short period of time, I was Little Son of a Bitch. Then I got the dictionary. I said, Mom, look at bitch. Right here, I'm the son. What does that mean? Just saying. So that's how I became Little Fuck. And, you know, we have a lot of authors here tonight, like Rick Phillips. He's written like 300 books on, you know, #1 seller on Amazon. Brenda Small has a book. So they're always encouraging me to write a book. Paul Pastore has a book. So they're always saying, Paul, you should write a book. And I'm really thinking about my memoirs. And it's going to be the story of Little Fuck. Or the adventures of Little Fuck. And it sounds like a child's book, but it really is not a child's book. But you know, growing up in New York, you wind up having all kinds of colorful language that people have. And You know how the letter Q is always followed by the letter U, except for the schmucks at Qantas? I mean, they probably don't know that. Quantas. Where's the Q? In New York, fuck is always preceded by the word the. Like, sit the fuck down. Stand the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here. It's always the fuck. So, you know, it's very interesting how they do that. New Yorkers don't even know that they're cursing. Anybody ever see Robert De Niro, Midnight Run? Okay, and Robert De Niro is being annoyed by Charles Grodin. And so Robert De Niro says, hey, and Charles Grodin's like this here. Robert De Niro says, hey, I got 2 words for you. Shut the fuck up. That's how New Yorkers are. But you know, there's a lot of times that you really can't curse. You know, your grandmother's there, or you're in company. So the Italians in New York, we came up with a way of cursing without actually speaking. So I don't know if you know this, but in Italian, this means what the fuck. So somebody bumps into you, you go, hey. That's all you have to do. See, Italians have a lot of things. And my friend Raghu here, he's going to be talking tonight. Raghu spilled a little something on me. Raghu's from India. And I went, and he said, are you hungry? Because in India, this means I want something to eat. But there's a lot of hand gestures that New Yorkers have that's very, very, very colorful. So, for instance, if you do something really serious in New York, what they'll do is they won't do this. They're going to do this. Has anybody ever seen this? This means fuck you. And if you want to get away with it, let's say you could say "bafangu." That's the Italian word for it. So they have that word, and then this is a good one. You ever see this one? That means fuck off. Like this here. And then there's one other one. And this one is a scary one, because if somebody like Tony Soprano does something like this, that means you're fucking dead. Okay, so now, if you're still here, you're warmed up, so nobody else is going to say anything that's going to scare you and chase you out of the room. And I've got some housekeeping rules that I want everybody to pay attention to, because this is Toastmasters, so we want to be very courteous to not leave or enter when somebody's up on the stage. Because, you know, it's pretty scary up here, and you don't want people standing up and walking out. So please, there's going to be 1 to 2 minutes between each of the speakers. So there's going to be plenty of time for people to go to the bathroom or do whatever you want to do between that. Everybody knows the bathroom's out one of these doors right here, so we want to make sure you do that. And I can't even see without glasses, much less with sunglasses on. And I want to give everybody have their little agendas there. I'll give you the speaking order. Okay, the first speaker tonight is Eve Clark. The second speaker is Lex Dominion. The third speaker, and I love this last name because my great-grandmother's maiden name is this, is Ciccolello. Ciccolello. Our fourth speaker is Steve Entenmann. Number 5 is Kristen Gramando. Number 6 is Jenny Lachlan. Number 7 is Tony Leboeuf. Number 8 is my paisan, Nick Corradino. Number 9 is Rick Phillips. And number 10 is Chris Pettit. Okay, and let's see here. The timing light location is right here. Would you guys cycle the lights?
The last 2.
Okay, that's really good. I like that. And we've got these backup cards. Okay, and again, a reminder, it's written down here twice, a reminder to the judges, we're not taking off anything for language or whatever they do on stage. Who was here in 2019? Okay, so you know what can go on this stage. You guys witnessed it. So let's just make sure everybody is ready. How we doing? Okay, so who's ready for our first contestant? Come on, let's hear it. We are going to have a wild time tonight. Our first contestant, Eve Clark, contestant number 1. Contestant number 1, Eve Clark.
I am so fat. And I am so old, and I blame all of this on COVID-19. Actually, 6 months ago, I had to buy a whole new wardrobe of clothing. I call it my fat clothing. It hides my ripples. My stomach got so big that it hangs over my pants, and now I have thunder thighs. Well, when I bought this clothing, I thought of a lot of people like you. I know you know what I'm talking about. The big clothing that hide your fat. Well, I had everything planned out except for I didn't order stretch pants. And my pants wouldn't come over my thunder thighs. So I had to go online and order extra large stretch pants. You know what? They go over my big butt and my thunder thighs. Now I know the true meaning of stretch pants. Well, let me go back to the beginning of how all this started. When we were told to stay home because of the pandemic last year, I thought, oh, this will work. I don't have to wear my industrial strength booby holder. My little puppies can breathe all day long. And then I cleaned the house from the floor to the ceiling. But I got so bored. I missed the restaurants and all the good food. I decided to go online to my favorite word, Google, and Google recipes. I wanted to be a gourmet chef. Well, when you're a gourmet chef, you have to taste everything you're cooking. Well, it tasted so good, I took big gulps instead of little ones. In fact, I enjoyed it so much, I ate 5 meals a day. Why not? A couple more pounds. And then I started getting stressed out. Oh my God, the pandemic wasn't ending. What am I going to do? I had to go to my comfort food, cookies and chocolate. You see, I am a cookie monster, and I am a chocoholic. When I heard that there was a toilet paper shortage, I thought, oh my God, what are we gonna do? I went online, I went to Costco, went to Safeway, went to Sam's Club, went to Fry's, went to the dollar store. Couldn't find any toilet paper. I had to go to my alternative. Lettuce. Everybody has lettuce, so I decided I would place an order of iceberg and romaine lettuce with my order that I was going to pick up that day at the grocery store, which is a thrill of my day. I got to get in my car and drive to the pull-up area to pick up my groceries. How much fun is that? So I got my iceberg and I got my romaine. The next morning I was sitting on the pot and I thought, okay, today is the tip of the iceberg and tomorrow remains to be seen. And then I got stressed out more, so I ate more cookies and more chocolate and gained more and more weight. because the beauty shops weren't going to open and my grade was showing. What am I going to do? Okay, I went online, ordered some hair dye. I read the instructions, did everything I was supposed to, got out of the shower, went up to the mirror, and I had orange hair. Oh my God! I showed it to my husband. He says, don't worry. We're the only two people that are going to see it, and before you know it, it'll all grow out. And now I'm all gray, and my grandkids don't even know who I am. In December, I went to the doctor, and he took one look at me, and he says, do you think you might need to lose some weight? So I told him about the cookies and the chocolate and my stressing and everything else. And he says, okay, well, maybe you should go for walks, or how about exercising? And I thought to myself, exercising is boring, and I don't like walks. So I told him, no, I don't think so. Then he said, okay, then eat less. Well, I thought about it, but we were still in the pandemic, so I ate more. Cookies and chocolate and all kinds of good food. And I started gaining more and more weight. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Well, I got so fat that even my extra large stretch pants are getting harder to pull over my thunder thighs. The other day, I woke up with this wonderful premonition. Oh my gosh, I know what to do. I made an appointment next week to get rid of all my fat. It's called liposuction. Let me show you what they're gonna do. They're gonna take a hose like this. They're gonna stick it in the side by my stomach. They're gonna go and suck out all that extra fat. My body's gonna contour. Yes, miracles do happen, and I will have a new body. Mr. MC.
Round of applause.
Thank you.
Eve Clark. Woo-hoo. All right. One of the things that I learned is that my wife never curses. So I never have to, and I try to tone it down a little bit because, you know, Debbie's an Arizona native. And, but you guys remember a hairdo back in the early 90s? It was called JBF. No, anybody remember that? A JBF hairdo? Okay, so you see, Debbie won't curse, but she heard about this new hairdo that was kind of messy, and JBF means just been fucked. So the hair, and this is true story. So they were doing the hairdos to make you look kind of wild. So I'm with some real conservative people. And Debbie comes in, she looks gorgeous, she comes in, and this guy is actually my boss at the time, or my partner. And his wife is there, she's gorgeous, but her hair is, you know, kind of this. And Debbie comes in and says, wow, that looks really JBF. And she's smiling, and I know she has no idea what Debbie just said. She went, ah, ha, 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 ha. And I could tell it was the ha-ha, like I have no idea what this is, and I can't wait to ask my daughter. We never went out with them again. That was the end of the relationship. So be careful what you say around certain people. She was like the Wicked Witch of the West. Okay, we ready for our third contestant? Chickalello, contestant number 3. Contestant number 3, Chickalello.
Apprehension, anxiety, anticipation. These are the emotions I experience when I'm about to meet a man for the first time, a man through online dating. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, this is my absolute, unembellished recollection of my date with John the Lobster Man. John and I exchanged a few emails, talked on the phone, and he asked me to join him for happy hour at the Keg, a nice restaurant. We arrived at the same time, were seated at a booth, and handed menus. John opened up his menu and dropped it in his lap. I was prepared for a $30 meet and greet, not a $60 meet and greet. He picked the restaurant, but I didn't say anything. The food server asked if she could tell us about the specials, and John agreed. We flew in fresh lobster. We're not having lobster. Of course we're not. It's not a special occasion. I checked out the menu, found a hamburger, $12. When he asked, would you like to split something? I was not going to split a $12 hamburger. What did you have in mind? That lobster sounded pretty good. Would you like to split a lobster? Sure, I said. And John placed the order for a lobster and grilled vegetables. No soup, no salad, no appetizer, no problem, because I'm thinking happy hour. John started the conversation with an interesting question. How much is your mortgage? How much is my mortgage? Why does he want to know? Is he going to pay it off? When I refused to tell him, he said, I'll tell you how much the mortgage is on my shopping center. It's $23,000 a month and 95% rented. I didn't think it was any of my business, but we all know how some men are. He continued and said, hey, have you ever been married? Yes, I have. I was married and divorced in my 20s and have found no compelling reason to remarry. Oh my gosh, you've been single for more than 30 years? I've been married and divorced 3 times. I wondered what he learned from those experiences, but again, I didn't say anything. I've been juicing. I've lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. Great, congratulations. I've lost 35 pounds in 7 months. This is for you Toastmasters only. Well, you look great, but you still have a ways to go. If you put us side by side, I was the skinny one, but I didn't say anything. The food server brought our lobster and placed it in front of John for John to split. John pushed the platter toward me for me to split 3 times. And 3 times, I pushed it right back to him. He finally picked up the lobster and picked up the claw cracker, but nothing was happening. He had the claw cracker upside down. I said, hey, John, you might want to flip that around. He refused to take my suggestion, dropped it on the platter, and pushed it toward me for me to split. This man, prior to my personal finances, criticized my physique. Why would I want to split that lobster for him? I finally decided, if you want me to split it, I'll show you how to split a lobster. I picked up that lobster and I snapped it in 2. Gave him half, gave me half. I took that shrimp fork and I put it through the narrow end of the tail and I pushed it, shoved it out of the top end of the tail, put it on my plate, grabbed my stack knife, cut it in 2, gave him a piece, kept me a piece. Tentacle, 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 picked up the claw cracker, cracked open the claw, grabbed my fork, and I put a piece of meat into it, and I leaned into him and said, when you've been single again for more than 30 years, you'll learn how to do things on your own. I like a woman who can get things done, and I like you, and I get what I want. Fat chance. John was kind enough to walk me to my car, thanked me for joining him for dinner, asked me out for the next Saturday night, and went for a full-body hug. I told him I already had plans. Of course, I thanked him for the dinner, and I gave him a handshake. The next day, I hopped online, checked my email, and there was a message from this lobster man. It was great meeting you last night. Hey, give me a call. Let's talk about the chances of you falling in love with me and us living happily ever after. Oh, I gotta get rid of this lobster man. So I did something I've never done before. Dear John. Thanks again for dinner last night. It was great to meet you. Well, I think you're an interesting man. I don't think we're a match. May I wish you the best of luck in your search. 10 cyber minutes later, he answered, thanks for thanking me for dinner. How many neat men would you know who would buy you a lobster dinner on a first date? None. I don't date women who've been divorced for more than 30 years. They're too selfish. If there is anyone who needs luck in their search, it's you. Disbelief, delete, relief.
Chick-chick-a-little. Okay, there's a little something special that's happening tonight. Is after the 10, we didn't do this last year, after the 10 speakers, we're going to have something that they do at Toastmasters Blue, which is have people come up and tell jokes. So right now, they're gonna line up over here, and they're gonna get up here, and they're gonna tell some jokes. And if you've never been on the stage and had the opportunity to look out on this group, because we have a lot of Toastmasters here, and you have a really good joke, we do have an opening for one or two of you. So let me know if you want to. You can come around over here, let me know, and Carol and I will put your name on the list, and you'll get a chance to be on the stage at Tempe Improv. Okay. Steve Entenmann, speaker number 4. Speaker number 4, Steve Entenmann.
Friends, I didn't know I was going to do this actually tonight, but I got to share something with you. It's kind of personal. I'm actually adopted. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm not really adopted, but the two people who claim to be my parents, there's no way in hell they're actually my parents. I don't even look like them. They're blonde hair and green eyes. Obviously, I'm not. In fact, I don't look like any of my siblings either. The only thing that we have in common is our enormous feet. We have huge feet. These are 14 extra wides, and trust me, it's all true. Call me. I've never believed it. In fact, for years, I've gone around sneaking little pieces of hair from their combs and sending it into DNA labs just to try it out. And honestly, I've done it so many times that the lab has actually created a rewards program for me. Next test is free. But time and time again, the results come back. And they are my parents. But it's not all for a loss. I've learned a lot of things watching them over the years. And tonight I'm going to share 3 very important life lessons with all of you. Growing up, I was the oldest of 5 kids. We didn't have a lot of money for important things, like groceries, apparently condoms. So they did anything they could to save a little bit of money. So one time my dad worked for hours on the car, and he came out like a heart surgeon holding the fuel pump. And he gave it to my mom, and he said, "Honey, please take this to the store and get me a new one just like this one." My mom, being a dutiful wife of the 70s, she said, "Sure." And she grabbed it like a life flight nurse carrying a transplant organ and drove as fast as she could. Now wait, I know you're thinking, how'd she drive when he's been working on the car? Well, we had a second car. We weren't that poor. So she pulls into the Checker Auto and she runs inside and she plops it on the counter and she says, "Sir, we need a new fuel pump. My husband needs this, just like this one. Stacked." The clerk looked at the fuel pump, looked back at my mom, looked back at it one more time and doubled over. "Ma'am, that ain't a fuel pump." Lesson 1. It's okay to ask for help when you don't know what you're doing. Be sure to send somebody else so they look like the idiots. I was a child of the 70s. Yeah, growing up, we had macrame plant hangers and avocado everything. My parents thought they'll do a little home improvement, so they went out and they bought wood paneling to put in our dining room and those marbled mirrors that go over top, kind of like on this wall right here. My dad thought he would surprise my mom and let her go to work one day. It's my job to help him. Oh, help I did. I held that wood paneling as he cut it with a circular saw on our dining room table. First cut. Everything was okay. Second cut. Still there. Third cut. And there were sparks and a change of sawdust. But my dad's no quitter, so he kept on. Those two pieces pulled apart, and there was a cut in our dining room table about this deep. We're not religious people, but we all found Jesus right then. Oh, Lord, help us, for we don't know not what he does. And we prayed for a swift and honorable death. But the third lesson, the most important, the one that I've carried with me my entire life. I was about 5 years old. I had just gone to bed. It was dark out, but I hadn't fallen asleep yet. And I heard my parents talking. And they were worried, and it concerned me, even as a 5-year-old. I was a nosy little fucker. So I climbed out of that bunk bed and I walked down that hall in my little footy pajamas. And I walked into the dining room. Yeah, the same dining room. And there they were, my dad and my mom, and now me. You know, like those little stupid stick figure stickers on the back of a minivan? Yeah, some of you should be ashamed. And we stood there looking at the Arcadia door up into the dark night sky. And hovering over top of the backyard was an enormous object with flashing lights that were very peculiar, and my parents were worried. There was an initial conversation. Was it the military? Could it be the Russians? And then it was said, was it aliens? My dad at that moment reached over and flicked on our back porch lights, and my mom, without missing a beat, and like a ninja in a Jackie Chan movie, spun around, smacked him on the arm, and yelled, "Ray, turn off the light! They'll know we're home!" And he did. Seconds later, the lights changed, and they were something that was much more recognizable. Goodyear tires. And it leads me to that final, most important point, the one that has carried with me my entire life. Children, draw close. Don't do drugs. Now, they say that every cloud has a silver lining. In my case, it's a blend. And not everything was a waste. I learned these lessons that I've carried with me. Matter of fact, they've made me the man that I am today. But you better damn well believe I'm going to use that free test because there's no way in hell that those two people are my parents. Mr. MC.
Hey, all right, Steve Enterman. Good job, Steve. Woo. How many of you come to comedy clubs a lot? You get many people? I know I see Christy here all the time. I love comedy. Debbie and I try to watch as much comedy as we can. So we turn the news off. We don't want to watch the robbery, rape, and murder reports that they have at night. So we watch a lot of comedy. And one of my favorites is a comedian, Betty. What's Betty's last name? Huh? What? Betty White. So Betty White is 90-something years old, right? And I don't know, it's when a dirty joke comes out of a 90-something-year-old person, it's even extra funny. And one of the ones that she told, she said, you know when a guy does something brave, they'll always say, well, he has balls. She says balls they're really fragile and they're tender. He said, what you should be saying is, he's really got vagina, because vagina can take a pounding. Balls are really fragile. You just flick them and then the guy collapses on the ground. A vagina, bam, you know, you could just, so next time you see a fireman run into a burning building, you just look at him and say, that guy's got vagina. Okay, we have our next contestant, Kristen Ramondo, contestant number 5. Contestant number 5, Kristen Ramondo.
The sphincter muscle is the one that controls the how, the when, and the where. Gaseous emissions are emitted from the body through the anus. Nobody here says anus. What do you say? Asshole. Asshole, yes. Well, you have one. Some of you even are one. Al. Social flatulence comes along when you least expect it. It doesn't matter what time of day it is, where you are, or who you're with. And like the Grinch's Christmas, you can't keep them from coming. Case in point. Last week, I had a couple in my office for an appointment. And when they left, I walked over to my desk, opened the drawer, and what if that had happened just a minute before? Sometimes when Al gets up from his chair in the living room and walks to the kitchen, I'll hear this. What is that? The start of the little engine that could? Some of you have had this experience, I know. When you have that little tiny air bubble that rolls up the butt crack. You have had that experience. I remember back when I wore pantyhose. It was a long time ago. That little air bubble rolled up the butt crack and got stuck. I had to wiggle my butt for it finally escaped. Look around the room tonight, or when you are on a Toastmasters meeting or on a Zoom call. If you see anyone tip to the side, you're right. They just let one go. I call those cheek lifters. Now, these gaseous emissions come in a variety of sounds. A already given you one idea. Or this sound. That really wasn't supposed to be one of them. Some of them are silent, but deadly! I am sorry to say that I am guilty of that. I'll give you 2 examples. A few weeks ago, Al and I were in the car. There was another couple in the back seat. We had just left the restaurant. And pretty soon, there was this aroma in the car. Al looked at me and said, "Kristen, shame on you!" He pulled the car over to the side of the road. We all got out. It had to air out. I just stood there and said, "Did I do that?" Yes. Another time, I was on an airplane. No, not a commercial plane, although that would be interesting. This was on a skydiving plane. Yes, it goes back to my skydiving days. I was all geared up, along with 20 other jumpers. We were seated on the floor of the airplane, waiting for it to get to altitude. Funny thing about the pressure on the outside of the plane affecting the pressure on the inside of the plane. And sure enough, this quadriferous gaseous emission just wafted into the air. And when people started smelling it, it was like, "Mike, did you do that? Was that you? Fred, that was you, wasn't it?" No one thought it was me. Come on, look at this face. Does it look like someone who would have that foul odor? Of course, now no one's going to want to sit next to me again. Yes, these gaseous emissions may come along when you least expect them. You don't know how, when, or where they're going to be released from the asshole. Oh, Al, before when I called you an asshole, I'm sorry. I thought he knew. Mr.
Kristen Gramando. So as I was looking for French Connection United Kingdom shirts, I saw that they have become much more making statements. So I thought this one was really nice. You know, fuck racism, which I think is really great. You know, fuck inequality. I don't know what fuck silence means or with change, but I thought the first 2 were pretty good. And French Connection United Kingdom didn't start out like this. And I think PJ, my son, will remember about 20 years ago, his brother Brandon, we're at a shopping center, and his brother Brandon goes in to this shop that is selling fuck shirts. Now, I never heard of the place. And Brandon comes out, and I said, "What did you buy?" Now, Brandon's about 12. I said, "What did you buy?" And he said, "Oh, Dad, you don't want to see it." I said, "No, I would like to see it." So he takes his shirt out of the bag, and it says, "fuck." And I said, "What are you doing with this?" He's 12 years old. He says, "Oh, you know, I won't wear it to school, I promise." And I look at it closely, and the letters, everybody know what Kama Sutra is? The letters were all people in different sexual positions. So the F was all the, and I'm looking at this, and I said to Brandon, you can't wear this to school. Now, maybe in New York he could wear it, you know, and he would just get a warning. But I said, they'll kick you out of school. So I took this shirt, ran over to the dumpster, and I put it in there, and he cried for the rest of the afternoon. But that was my first introduction to Fakuk. And now they've become very socially responsible. So I really like it. Okay, our next contestant. Jenny Lachlan, contestant number 6. Contestant number 6, Jenny Lachlan.
Thank you, Paul. Wow, by round of applause, how many of you have ever been to a Toastmasters meeting? Yes? Wow. Wow. All right, so that's most of you, but those of you who have never been to a Toastmasters meeting, you probably already know that we learn some pretty amazing skills at our meetings, right? The problem is we get a little carried away. And sometimes we take what we learn at Toastmasters and we let it affect other areas of our life. For instance, like, have you ever been scheduled for a timer joke master, right? And you look up a knock-knock joke on the internet and you deliver it to your meeting and you kill it. And you think, I am a natural comedian. I gotta take this show on the road, right? And so the next thing you know, there I am, backstage at an open mic comedy night. I was so nervous. I was the only middle-aged mother surrounded by like 20-year-old dudes. And the guy in front of me starts jumping up and down. And I said, you know, what are you doing? And he goes, well, you gotta get your nerves out somehow. I was like, oh, yeah. So I started to jump up and down. But I'm a middle-aged mother. And there's a reason why you don't see a lot of 45-year-old women jumping rope. Okay, prepare to be traumatized, sir. I peed. It happens, and I had on gray joggers, and I think we all know what happens when the color gray gets wet. You know, it's very obvious. And it was at that moment when the MC was like, put your hands together for Jenny Lachlan. A small part of me died that night, sir. Now, the other part of that role that we do at Toastmasters is the joke master, is the timer, right? The timer. We're timing everything. When you go to a meeting, we're green light, yellow light, red light. They're timing me right now, right? But then we leave the meeting, and we start timing everything. Like, how long is it taking to get the green light? How long is it taking the dog to go, right? And then we start timing things that really shouldn't be timed, like yoga. Do you know that they say time does not exist in yoga? But it does if you're a Toastmaster. So I had never been to yoga. If you've never been to yoga, you walk in, okay, and it's all social distance. You know, they're all 6 feet away from each other, which is, you know, it's very hard, that whole like 6-foot rule, because, you know, we women have been told like our whole life that, you know, like this is 10 inches. So if this is 10 inches, I mean, what is 6 feet? We have no perception of depth, right? So they roll out the mats, they dim the lights, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be like assisted napping for 58 minutes. I'm gonna time her. But it's not, it wasn't, okay? Because the instructor is teaching these poses. Okay, but a pose, you know, is like, right? We can all do a pose. These are not poses, people. These are like contortions. So, and everything is very positive. It's like warrior pose, goddess pose. Fierce. Okay, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, like, let's name some things we can relate to, right? Like broken dreams pose. Like, how about bad back? How about bum knee? How about sciatica surprise? Like, those are, I can get behind that. Then there's all these, like, animal poses, right? It's like up dog, down dog, cat, crow. You know, there's camel toe. It's... I'm like, let's pick some animals we can relate to, huh? How about, like, elephant in the room? How about that one? How about horse's ass? I can relate to that one. Okay, how about beached whale? We can all do that. Mad cow? What? Where is the mad cow pose? I'd like to see that one. So finally, I'm like, you know what? I can't move anymore. I'm clapping this lady down. So I start clapping her down. She's like, oh no. We don't clap in yoga. We just bow our head and say namaste. And I'm like, but as grammarian, I think you meant to say, instead of namaste, I think what you really should have said is, ain't no way, because we're just not going to do this, right? Now, what's another one? Evaluator, right? We're evaluating at Toastmasters all the time. We're giving our speakers feedback, right? Telling them what's good, what could be improved. But then we do the same thing. We start evaluating and giving feedback to our friends, right? Our family, our spouses. Does this ever happen to you, sir? What? Right? Bob, honey, I'd like to give you some feedback on last night's presentation. You know, sweetie, I know you're working out of the Your Body Speaks manual. And here's the thing, though, Bob. Wow, I loved your opening. You know, you really got my attention. You said, ooh, I couldn't wait. But then, you know, I wasn't really sure where you were going. There's a lot of beating around the bush, you know, and then, you know, your closing, I wasn't really sure if you were done. I know I certainly wasn't. So maybe next time, Bob, I recommend you know, here's some things that could make you even better, right? You could maybe videotape yourself. I know all the experts do it. I know it's a little hard to watch, but maybe refer back to your manual, page 69. But I think, Bob, you know, you put all this together, sweetie, and I think, you know, it'll be so great. I will be like, yes, Bob, go, Bob, go. Oh. I think we just came up with a new pose. Oops, I did it again. Mr. MC.
Great job. Jenny Lockwood. Okay, every time I come to these comedy clubs, I want to do what the MCs do. Remember, the service here. How is the service here tonight? These guys, they are fabulous. So remember, these are the people who were out of work for a very long time, and they're the people who decided to come to work. So make sure that you take really good care of your service tonight, okay? They're doing a great job. And I happen to have some inside information that none of you paid for your tickets. Right? Nobody paid. So you got a lot of extra money that you would have spent on tickets. So make sure you take care of your service. Okay. Are we ready? Yes. Tony LeBoeuf. Contestant number 7, Tony Leboeuf.
Thank you, Paul. Oh, I love it. He said fuck more times than I'm going to say fuck tonight. That is fantastic. And it's fantastic for all of you. Thank you, fellow friends, family, Toastmasters, to be here to see us have so much fun saying a bunch of dirty words. Well, fuck is the queen mother of all bad words, isn't it? So how many people do you remember the first day you ever heard fuck in your life? Oh, come on, there's a couple of you. Well, for me, it was 1958. I was 10 years old, 5th grade. I was walking to Minneas Howell Elementary School in southeast Atlanta. When I got up to the door, there were some boys laughing over here. You know, they're always laughing and joking. And they were looking down. I looked down, and they had written in chalk, F-U-C-K, on the pavement. I didn't know what it was. One of them said, do you know what that means? I went, no. And they started laughing harder and pointing at me. Crazy boys. I went into the classroom. The teacher finally came in, and the boys were in the back still laughing and carrying on. She said, what are you guys laughing at? And they were pointing at me and laughing. She came up to me. She said, why are they laughing at you? I said, I don't know, but they wrote F-U-C-K out on the pavement. Oh, my goodness. She looked at them and she says, come on, boys, we're going to see the principal. I thought I was going to die. I don't know what was happening, but I knew I was in trouble somehow. Finally, she came back in. It was nice and quiet. Not the boys, though. And I didn't get in trouble. I went home that night, had dinner with my parents. I told them about what had happened. My mother freaked. That's the queen mother of all bad words. You don't need to be saying that word. Nothing to do with that word. You're going to be in trouble. You do not have anything to do with that word. Isn't that right, Jim? My dad. My dad was kind of chuckling, and he looked at me and he said, Tony, she's right. You really shouldn't have anything to do with that word at all. It's really a bad word. Finally, I thought to myself, I really hadn't heard the word. I only saw it written down there. But it must be a really important word, but I just don't understand it. It took me 2 years before a fellow classmate told me what fuck meant. Then my whole world opened up. A couple of weeks later, we were at a church picnic. I was sitting next to my dad. Somebody did something to somebody when they were setting up, and one said, fuck you, and the other one said, fuck you too. And my dad turned to me, and he looked at me, and he said, do you know what that means? I said, yes. That's my girl! What? I'm not in trouble for saying fuck or thinking about fuck. So I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, Tony, isn't it a fucking shame that people say fuck at a church picnic? And I said, yeah, Dad, it's really fucking funny. From that day until the day he died, we shared all kinds of jokes, all kinds of bad words. It was absolutely fantastic. Now, of course, we didn't have cell phones, or text, or computers, or any of that stuff way back then. So when he would come home from work, we'd go out back, out of the earshot of my mother, of course, and we'd exchange jokes, all kinds of jokes. It was so much fun. And then I realized the importance of fuck. Because when I finally found out what fuck was about, it was like I had stepped into adulthood and left my childhood behind. Recently, I was curious about fuck. What does it mean? Where did it come from? You go out on Google, there are thousands of pages about the derivation of fuck. One historian said fuck goes all the way back to cavemen days. What? They didn't read, they didn't write. So on the cave walls, they were drawing pictures. Well, did they draw pictures of people fucking? Because in other words, how do you know that they used fuck? With all this study, my favorite definition of fuck comes from the Pilgrims. Now, those very religious, wonderful people helped settle this great country. But of course, some men and women were getting in trouble sexually, so they had to do something about it. Well, they put them in the locks. The men were usually standing with their head and their hands in the locks. And then the women were over here with their long dresses, and they were usually on a stool or a chair with their hand and their head with the locks. Right next to them was a big wooden sign, and on the sign was written, F period, U period, C period, K period, which meant find under carnal knowledge. Therefore, fuck is not a four-letter word. Fuck is an acronym. And all of us who work for the Army or were in the military, thank you for your service, we know what all about acronyms, and we trust them, don't we? Fuck is a wonderful word. You hear it many, many times, all the time. And the derivation, obviously, goes back to caveman days, I guess. But it's a lot of fun, too. And in the military, I worked in the Emergency Operations Center for 20 years at Greeley Hall, Fort Huachuca. And that was just about 20 years, 40 years altogether. I had a brilliant signal officer I worked for in the EOC as my boss, Major Jim Risley. Fantastic man. Knew everything there was to know about satellites, but he wasn't very good with computers. And one day, he couldn't stand it anymore, and he was banging on his computer, Tommy, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. I ran in. What's wrong? So he told me, and then he started saying, fuck me. And I said, okay, when and where? And then he said, oh, Tony, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it like that. And I said, darn it all. But fuck is wonderful. Use it wisely and have a fucking good time. Mr. Paul.
All right, Tony Lima. Tony Lima. A military girl. Yeah, the only place when I was in the Army, they took using the F word to another level. It was really interesting. Now, I'm a financial planner, or I was. I did financial planning. I'm often interviewing people, and I interview a lot of people. I talk about what their goals are for retirement, and they'll talk about, well, I want to build my 401k, or I'm working on my IRA, or I have a, CDs. And one guy I'm interviewing, and he says, I said, how much money do you want to have? What's your plan? He says, I just want to have FU money. And I said, what? He says, I want to have FU money. I said, what's FU money? He goes, it's fuck you money. I said, what's that? He said, I want to have enough money so I can go into my boss and say, hey, fuck you, and leave. And I thought, well, that's a good goal. That was a very good goal. I recommended, don't actually say that because you may need a reference. But having enough money that you are able to have the freedom is the goal of a lot of financial planners trying to help people, but we don't want you to go in and curse at your boss because they've been paying you all these years. And I actually did have that conversation with somebody, and Tony kind of reminded me. Okay, our next contestant, Nick Corradino, contestant number 8, Nick Corradino!
Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Corradino, and this is my cop. His name's Willie. Now, during the pandemic, Willie didn't see much action. So this morning I decided to let him out of the pen. Let him stretch his legs a little bit, you know? Let me tell you something. Big mistake. As you can see, Willie took me for a ride all day. And it started this morning when I said to him, Willie, I could use a drink. I'll let you lead the way. Get it up, Willie. Get it up, get it up, get it up, 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 get it up, get it up, get it up, up, up. Our first stop, Hooters. The perfect place for libation and titillation. When the waitress came up and took our drink order, I simply said, you can bring me a slippery nipple and bring my cock sex on the beach. Well, she came back, not with our drinks, but with two big bouncer dudes, two boobs who put the squeeze on my cock. And you know what they did next? They took my chicken, and they threw us out of the place and said, don't let the door hit your cock on the way out. I was so embarrassed. Where to now, Willie? Let me tell you something about this cock. He's no dummy. He knew exactly where to go. Get it up, get it up, get it up, 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 get it up, get it up, get it up, up, up. We ended up at Dick's Sporting Goods. He had heard there was a sale on balls. And that's where we met Leia. And she loved Willie. She fawned all over him. She got a rise out of him. In many ways, I saw him grow up right before my very eyes. And then she said, want to take a ride in my Hummer? Vroom, vroom. Here we go, Willie. Hummin', 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 hummin'. Our next stop, the Horny Toad Lounge for cocktails. And that's where we finally got those drinks. I had my slippery nipple. Willie had sex on the beach. And Leia, well, she had an orgasm. And then a cock's worst nightmare. A bunch of jerks showed up. And they surrounded us. I said, don't worry, Leia. This is not our first circle jerk. Don't piss off my cock. He knows cock food. He trained under the great Master Bait. And if you jerks pull anything, you're gonna get cream. At this point, the jerks realized that they had lost their grip on the situation. So they withdrew. And Leia, well, she was so happy. She came up and said, oh, Willie, I'm hungry. Let's go to In-N-Out Burger. I said, wait a minute, Leia. Wait a minute. We got to dance at least once. See, Willie here, he's a cockanova on the dance floor. Johnson, hit it! Tonight's the night, I think it's gonna happen. Leia pushed all the other cocks aside. She was the only one that showed him a little affection. I just hope he doesn't crow too early in the night. She wants to hold him, squeeze him, wrap those lips around him, but you gotta move real slow, or he's gonna let it flow. He's so excited.
I just ran it
And then what always happens with my Willie when he gets excited, he got all tough. He began to withdraw. He became a shadow of his once fighting self back into his bed. And do you know what Leia said when she saw this? You guys are a joke. You belong at the improv.
Imagine one of the things that Toastmasters. Oh, look at Carol. Listen. Oh. What is that you're cleaning up? How many of you are not Toastmasters? Let me just see hands of non-Toastmasters. Okay, we got a lot of non-Toastmasters. One of the things you see here tonight is this is called the stretch. When you can get up on a stage in front of 200 or 300 people and do some of the things you see people do tonight, you stretch so much that you're fearless. You can come out and do anything you want. That's why a lot of us who join Toastmasters love the opportunity to do something really unusual. And for Nick, that's not that unusual, you know. Nick, I've seen Nick do a lot of stretching. Okay. Are we ready? Rick Phillips, contestant number 9. Contestant number 9, Rick Phillips.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are at the Arizona Cardinals football stadium, supporting our undefeated Arizona Cardinals, along with 80,000 of your fellow fans. It is the end of the first quarter, and you find yourself staring down into an empty 24-ounce glass that used to contain Corona. And your bladder is talking to you. And it's saying the same thing it's saying to every other fan in your condition. Rise up, Red Sea! And you do. And you start elbowing your way towards a destination that is crowded with people trying to get there first. And that destination, for half of us, is the men's latrine. Now, I know you ladies out there think that football stadiums were designed by men for men. But I am here tonight to disabuse you of this erroneous notion. I am going to paint a picture for you of exactly what men have to go through in these stadium restrooms. First of all, I know why you have your bad idea about men being favored in toiletries. It's because the women's line snakes all the way around the concession stands, while it looks like the men's line is much shorter and going much faster. But for men, you finally make your way to the door. You shove your way inside, only to be confronted by the sight of a dozen dudes lined up against the wall, doing their business. And there are none of these nice little privacy dividers between people. We are talking about true military-style togetherness. Well, behind each of these guys is a line of like 8 to 10 men. And you're tasked with making a judgment about which line is moving the fastest. So you choose, and you start working your way gradually forward. About the time you don't think you're going to be able to hold it any longer, you reach the wall of relief. Now begins the task I refer to as the Great Fly Fishing Challenge. Step number 1, grab your overly long team jersey, pull it out of the way. This is a very important step. Unzip your fly And thus begins the blind search for the opening in your underwear. And I say blind search because it's considered very uncool to be looking down like this while the quest continues. As time goes by, you begin to get helpful comments from the drunks behind you. Things like, "Quit playing with it, dude, and move along." Now, men have had to put up with this situation for decades, if not centuries, at stadiums all over the world. And I have come up with my extensive research with the reason for this overall problem. Tonight, I present to you problem number 1, tidy whities. As you look at these things, you will immediately begin to see there is a problem here, a design issue. And it starts with this extremely tight and narrow slit, which I would say is significantly too small. And you've got to work your way in past some fabric to try to reach the target that you need to reach. Let me further illustrate the true size of this problem. You've got this little slit, and you're working your way in there, and it's just hard to get things to come out correctly. It's wanting to come out the wrong way. This is a serious design flaw. Gentlemen, I stand before you tonight not to bring gloom and doom that this problem that has been with us for decades can never be solved because some brilliant design engineers at a menswear company have come up with the solution. I present to you tonight Tommy John's trunks. These things are made out of a fabric called second skin, and it is so soft. But more importantly, it has 2 design features that solve our problem. Number 1, note this ample and well-positioned pouch that's designed to keep your business right where it belongs. But most importantly is a feature I like to call the quick draw holster. Note how easily my hand slides in and out of this handy device. Fellas, we are finally free from the frustration and embarrassment of the stadium men's restrooms. So I say to you all, guys, stand tall and aim straight.
Rick Phillips. All right, Ricky. Great job. You know, we're doing some research for tonight. I wanted to find out some words that you normally don't hear in nightclubs. So I was looking up what people consider bad words. And so I looked up, and this is more of a New York, but maybe they have it out here. I looked up a couple of words, scumbag and douchebag. Is that popular out here? I don't even know if people even say it out here. Scumbag and douchebag. Now, the interesting thing is, and it said that, you know, this is slang, but the interesting thing is it said only refer to men. Because if you say something nasty to a woman or call a woman something, she will never, ever forget. So you will be in the hospital and you will be on like a feeding tube or oxygen, and the wife comes there, and it's 30 years after you called her a name. And she gets up and walks over to the little knob for the feeding tube and turns the knob because you called her a douchebag. And now you hear beep. So I learned never ever say all the words you hear tonight only refer to men, never to women. Okay, we have our last contestant, the last but not least. Oh, we have an interruption.
Okay, we forgot to tell the judges that we had a little change in the speaking order. So, did you guys all figure that out now? So if you can just take a moment and flip your 9 and 10 around, that would be fantastic. Does that make sense to all the judges? Yes. So just judge the contestants under their name. Yes, thank you.
You'll understand why we did that in just a few moments, because it was very strategic. Okay, I heard the food is closed, but the bar is still open. So if anybody wants some drinks, raise your hand. The guys will come take care of it.
I can do it when I'm at the computer.
Chris Pettit, contestant number 10. Contestant number 10, Chris Pettit.
¿Qué es esto? For anyone that doesn't speak Spanish, that means what is this? And it will haunt my nightmares for the rest of my life. 2 years ago, I joined Toastmasters, walked into a roast, and I got a mentor, Tudor Melville. Do you know what a mentee is? I didn't know what the fuck that meant. All I knew was that he was Mr. Tesla. And I knew 4 things about Mr. Tesla. He was pretty well off. He was really, really, really popular in the community. Everyone loved him. Super well respected. He drove a really fast car. And he made monthly Rocky Point trips to the prison. None of that mattered. All I knew was I walked into Toastmasters and he said, hey, I have an opening. Do you want to go down to the prison with me? Do I want to go with Mr. Tesla? Yes! He drives like a 2.1 second Model S. If you don't know what that is, it's really fast. So I pulled up to his house and I see that beautiful red rocket sitting in his driveway. And I watched Tudor walk right past it to the Prius. Tudor, you're Mr. Tesla. You're not Mr. Prius. What's going on? I'm not taking that to Rocky Point. You want to die? No, let's take the Prius. That sounds great. And I look at what he's loading in the car, and I can't tell because he's done. It's completely packed full. Have you ever seen a completely packed full Prius? There's about 1,000 pounds of food inside of this Prius. And he comes over to me and says, I racked the passenger seat all the way back. You're going to be able to relax the entire drive down to Mexico. And I said, Tudor, I get car sick. Can I drive? Sure. He was right. It was nice and relaxing. He slept the whole way. Have you ever driven to Mexico with your knees around your ears? I'm a little taller than Tudor. We get to the border, and suddenly he shoots away. Pull over, you gotta pull over. Okay, this is weird. Sure. Switch seats. I need to drive across the border. Okay, let's do that. We switch seats. We get over the border. We're 20 feet past the border, and he says, whew, that was close. We're good, we can switch back now. No, I don't want to, but okay. And we drive into the Rocky Point prison. Now, let me be clear on something. Have you ever driven into a prison? We pull up to the prison. Okay, pull in there. Oh, shit, he locked the gate. Oh, okay. I'm inside a Mexican prison. There's a machine gun over there. There's a machine gun over there. Where'd Tudor go? Tudor! Shit, he got out. So I back the car in. He comes over, he says, hey, I'm going to go talk to the warden. Why don't you go ahead and unload? Okay, that seems fair. So I get out and I start unloading the back of this Prius. And at this point, I'm starting to get my confidence back because I'm in Mexico and I'm taller than everyone around me, except the one guard who's 6'5" next to me with a huge machine gun, who doesn't speak any English. I speak Spanish. I'm not telling them that. No. And I start unloading the car, trying to have a nice conversation. I pull out a tray of hot dogs. How's it going? Still doesn't speak English. I pull out the second tray of hot dogs and set it down, and I turn back. And underneath the hot dogs were 100 individually wrapped Ziploc baggies of white powder. It's okay because handwritten in Sharpie it says vanilla protein powder. So that's what it is, right? Yes, that's so. I don't know, Jack. I don't know. Fuck. Without skipping a beat, Tudor walks over and says, "Oh, guys, it's vanilla protein powder. It's fine." At this point, anyone in their right mind would find a way to say vanilla protein powder in Spanish. He's been going to Mexico for 12 years and doesn't speak any Spanish. Who does that? But no, not Tudor, no. He walks up and says, "Look, it's vanilla protein powder." See? Who offers protein powder on their pinky? Pablo fucking Escobar offers protein powder on their pinky. And he hands it back to me laughing and walks away. Guess who still doesn't speak English? Is that the one time vanilla protein powder? Oh, stop again. It's okay. I finish unloading the car. Everything is fine until the last bag. I get to the last bag, and it explodes. All over the back of the Prius. Have you ever seen Scarface? That's what the back of the Prius looks like. I'm freaking out. The guard is laughing. Tudor's laughing. I think I shit myself. What are we gonna do? It's okay. Relax. Okay, I'm in a Mexican prison covered in protein powder. Sure, I'll relax. We go back to the condo. He says, "We'll vacuum it out. Don't worry about it." So we drive back to the border the next day. Yes, that's the next chain of event. We drive back to the border. You notice something missing there? We're within 100 feet of the border. I can see America. Oh, I love America. We're pulling up. I'm like, "Hey, Tudor, did you ever clean the..." Holy shit! Oh, we look like drug smugglers. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? He said, "Just give me my passport." Okay. Here you go. And the border guard said, "What's that?" What am I saying? What am I going to say that's not going to get me to go back to prison where they won't let me out? Tudor leans over and says, "It's definitely not cocaine. You want some? To the border guard." Last trip I'm ever going to take with Tudor to Mexico. Thank you.
All right, Chris Bennett. Okay, so now we have about 15 or 20 minutes where the judges are now tallying their ballots, and we are going to have our joke session. So all our jokesters, where's our jokesters? Come on up. We want to have everybody over here. Well, let's give a round of applause for these people brave enough to get on this stage. And the first one, I know most everybody's name, so I don't need... Oh, there's our little girl here. All right, I thought we were going to do the where's the machine?
It's 10 inches wide. It's big enough.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Let's welcome our jokesters. All right, first up is Raghu Marwaha. Raghu.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening, everyone. When I moved to the West from India, I thought I knew English. but I didn't know shit. I mean the word shit. Sometimes it could mean a good thing, and sometimes a bad thing. For example, if I give shit, I'm actually giving heck, right? But if I give a shit, then I care. But if I take shit, then I'm taking heck. If I take a shit, so you see that article makes a whole lot of difference. And then the size of shit also matters. If someone is a piece of shit, or a big piece of shit, that's bad. But if they're the shit, now they're the bomb. And sometimes the word shit doesn't mean anything. So if my friend JP from Toastmasters says, this Christmas I'm going to travel and shit, I need to think to myself, he's just going to travel. Just cut off that shit. And then it depends on whose shit it is. If it's your shit, their shit, her shit, that's all bad. But if it's my shit's good. So if you see me confused once in a while, talking with you, just realize I'm still trying to figure out your shit. Thank you, Paul.
All right, Renu Moaha. Let's welcome Dennis Clark.
This old farmer had 3 beautiful triplet daughters. They had made dates with 3 young men for Saturday night. The farmer, though, was real protective. When they rang the doorbell, he came to the door with a shotgun. What do you want? The first guy says, I'm Joe. I came to pick up Flo. We're going to go to a show. The farmer says, okay, got my blessing. Second one says, I'm Freddie. I came to pick up Betty. We're going to go have spaghetti. Farmer gave his blessing and out the door. Third guy says, I'm Chuck. The farmer shot him.
All right, here we go, way to go. Okay, who's next? Okay, let's welcome Terry Lee. Go on now, Terry.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Here in America, we frequently don't thank our public servants enough. But let me tell you a cute story about a neighborhood that learned their postman of 30 years was going to be retired. And the neighbors got together and decided they should do something special for this postman. And so as he started his route on his last day, at every house he received a gift. He got gift cards, he got cupcakes, pies, cakes, all kinds of goodies. About halfway through his morning route, he arrived at the house, and the door was opened by a voluptuous and beautiful woman clad in a negligee that left nothing to the imagination. She looked him in the eyes, smiled, grabbed him by the hand, and led him into the house, upstairs to the master bedroom, where for the next hour and a half, they experienced the ultimate joy. When they were done, she took him downstairs, sat him down, and proceeded to feed him a tremendous breakfast: eggs, bacon, pancakes, grits. And as he finished his breakfast, he picked up a steaming hot cup of coffee, and he noticed there was a $5 bill stuck to the bottom of the cup. He looked at her and said, "What's the $5 bill for?" She smiled and replied, "Well, when I told my husband that the neighbors had all decided to do something nice for you on your last day, he said, 'Fuck it, give him $5. But breakfast was my idea."
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Terry. Okay, let's welcome Lisa Jones.
Okay, Miss Beatrice was 88 years old. Everyone knew her as the kindest, most gentle lady, and she was the church organist. One day, the new pastor decided to pay her a visit. So she welcomed him in, and she sat him down right across from her old pipe organ. And then she went in the kitchen to make him some tea. And as he sat there looking at this old pipe organ, he noticed there was a bowl of water sitting on top of the pipe organ. So he stood up, he went over to the organ, and he saw inside this bowl was a condom floating in this bowl of water. And he thought, this is really strange. So he sat back down, and in she comes with his tea. So they chatted for a while, and then he just could not contain himself any longer, and he just had to ask, "Miss Beatrice, you have this beautiful pipe organ, but I noticed that you have this bowl of water, and why is there a condom floating in this bowl of water?" And she said, "Oh, Pastor, one day I was walking in the park, and I stooped down to pick up what I thought was some trash. And I picked up this little packet. And the instructions say to put this on your organ, keep it moist, and it will protect you from all diseases." And you know, ever since I have done that, I haven't had the flu or the cold all year.
Oh, we don't need a timer. No timer. No timer. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Johnny Bayales.
Good evening, Toastmasters. So I'm sure all of you guys know what table topics are, right? For those who don't know, it's a 45 seconds to a minute and 30 seconds to answer a question like that. It's usually PG, like, what was your first Christmas present? Or tell us about a story about a puppy, right? Really simple. But I went to Blue last Friday, and they asked me to tell them what this article was. And my article in the newspaper was, 9 old people get kicked out of a hotel for having an orgy. Me, a nice little Christian boy over here, what the fuck am I gonna say? But then I think about me, I go back in time when I was 14 and I saw porn for the first fucking time. And I saw old people porn. Don't judge me, but it's called mature porn. Old people are the best to understand sex, because they do 4 Viagra's, 4 Cialises, so they go fucking at it. And so I just pretty much talked when I was 14. It was the best time of my fucking life. So that's why the guy kicked out.
Okay. You just work here, so are you going to tell a joke? What's your name? Chase Harder? Come on up here, Chase! He works here!
Thank you. Yeah, it is my birthday. I just want to tell everybody in my section before they fill out the receipts. Thank you so much. I'm a huge narcissist, if you couldn't tell. Like, that's the reason why I'm up here. So, like, a little about me. Whenever I go to, like, booming social events, I wear, like, these steel-toed work boots. Just to let everyone around know that, like, this needs a lot of work. Like, if you're going to come over here, like, physically, mentally, just a lot of work. And And one time when my friends were coming over, did you ever like not realize you're like kind of depressed till like your friends listen to your music? They, like, the first couple times they like write it off as a fluke, but the third time's a pattern. I'm pretty sure it was like scared to be lonely, and they started just rearranging all the seating in my house to be like a circle around me. Started every sentence with like, we're here because we love you. And I was like, are you having another intervention for my Spotify? We've talked about this. I don't care what anyone says. I think Sarah McLachlan slaps. All right? I mean, how do you think they make all those dogs so hand shy in her commercials? Just the fact that they just like quiver at the sound of her voice, you know? And they're always like missing a limb or missing a leg. I have my own handicapped dog at home. And when I went to go get him, I kind of treated it like I was like going to buy a new car. So I went up to the adoption agency and I was like, I want one that won't hump the other one, but also won't run away from me because I have attachment issues. And she like walks me over to this kennel. She's like, the lack of limbs on this model makes it perfect for everything you're trying to do. And I was like, write it up. Of course, he instantly depreciates when you take him home and he shits on your carpet. And then he weirdly becomes like a conversation piece for a bunch of people I don't want to talk to, mostly the children in my apartment complex. They always come up to me just constantly, how do you lose the leg? How do you lose the leg? How do you lose the leg? And I tell them, I've told them multiple times, so now I just start changing the story over and over. So this week they think he's James Franco in 127 hours and he like nodded off himself at the top of a mountain. Next week I think he'll probably be like the new Soul Surfer or something. I haven't really decided on that one yet. But speaking of lying to children, did your parents ever like pretend to have cameras all around the house? Like, and just claim they were gonna go check it when they didn't know who did what? And then it would be so much worse if they caught you on the camera, so you just rat on yourself. And my parents did that to me, and after I realized the whole thing was a sham, I was like, what would even really be on the live TV of our living room? It would just be me crying to hours and hours of Lion King, just on rewind because the VHS is taking too long. I think I mourned Mufasa to the point where like I have secondhand daddy issues. Like I had a great dad, but I mourned Mufasa to the point now I go to jujitsu classes just to get choked a little bit, you know? Just pretend me not tapping out is like my competitive nature. I just walk in like, oh no, I've exposed my back again. I hope no one fulfills my wildest fantasies. And then the person always pulls me aside. He's like, you've got to stop biting your lip during all the submissions. It's really freaking people out. And then I'm like, well, I read the website. You said we were rolling tonight, and I'm the only I popped my molly an hour ago, and I'm the only one licking the carpet, so I'm just like a little confused. All right.
He didn't know about the 1 to 2 minute time limit, so you know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Pastore!
Happy almost Halloween. Do you know why witches don't wear underwear? Because it gives them a better grip. Okay, you want another one? There's a couple in a restaurant. They're having dinner, and the waiter comes over, and the guy happens to notice he has a spoon in his pocket. And he says, just out of curiosity, if you don't mind my asking, what's the spoon for? And he says, in the restaurant business, time is money. We've done time and motion studies, and we found 92% of the time that a patron drops a utensil on the ground, it's a spoon. So I carry extra spoons to save time. I don't have to go into the kitchen. Time is money in the restaurant business. The guy noticed he has a white string coming out of his zipper. He says, if you don't mind me asking, what's the white string coming out of your zipper? He said, you know, we have a health department. If we go to the men's room and have to urinate, we have to wash our hands. So what I've done is I put a string around my penis. So when I go to the men's room, like Rick Phillips, I just pull it out. I don't have to touch it. I don't have to wash my hands. I save a lot of time, and time is money in the restaurant business. And the guy says, I got the idea how you pull it out, but how do you put it back in? And he said, I don't know about the other guys, but I've been using the spoons.
Okay, a new addition is Jenny Loughlin. Come on down, Jenny.
I got two short ones for you. Because I'm short, yes, thank you. 3 inches from requiring a booster seat is what I am. But here's your short jokes. A perfectionist walks into the bar, but the bar wasn't high enough. All right, how about this one? If life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. No? All right. All right, did you hear there was an article about the difference between married women and single women. And they're finding that married women are heavier than single women. And I guess it's because single women look in the fridge, see what's there, and go to bed. Whereas married women look in the bed, see what's there, and go to the fridge.
Okay, is our organizer going to give us a joke? Okay, welcome, Carol!
Hello. Okay, there was a cucumber, a pickle, and a penis that were at a bar. And they were sitting at a bar and they were complaining about their lives. They were saying how much their lives suck. And so the cucumber says, oh my God, you guys have no idea. They cut me up, they put me in a salad, they pour ranch dressing all over me. God, my life sucks. And the cucumber looks at him and he says, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. They put me in a jar, they pour vinegar all over me, I sit on a shelf, oh my God, I want to kill myself. And the penis says, oh my God, the two of you, what the hell? My life is so bad. They put saran wrap all over me. They shove me in a cave and make me do push-ups until I throw up. All right, I've had a couple cocktails tonight. Well, first of all, before we get to the announcements and the 50-50 winner, I want to see if all of you had a great time tonight. I have a few thank yous. We do have the winners here. So I just want to thank all of our contestants. Can you please give them another round of applause? And for those of you that don't know, Blue Toastmasters meets the second Friday of every month. And we have been doing auditions since May. And we've had, I don't even know how many auditions we have. So we do the auditions May, June, July, August, September, October. We take the top 10. They come here. They compete for the championship of first place, funniest Toastmaster in Arizona. So thank you for all of our auditioners and competitors. And then I also want to thank all of the judges. We had 10 consistent judges throughout the whole entire competition. And we have 18 judges here tonight to make this a really fair competition. So, yeah, stand up. All the judges, stand up. I also want to thank the members of Blue Toastmasters. I would not be able to do this competition without you, so thank you for all of your support. And then also thank you to the Tempe Improv. Cassie, love you. Thank you for all my millions of questions. Thank you, Drew, and all your audio staff. makes you may be able to hear everybody. And then thank you to all of you that came out on a Tuesday night to support this event. So give yourselves all a round of applause. And
She has dedicated so much time, so much energy. She's been so excited for a year. So thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you so much. It is my pleasure. I love this event so much. I love coming here to the Tempe Improv, seeing everybody compete. It's spectacular. So if anybody in the audience is a Toastmaster and you are interested in auditioning next year, let me know. Just come see me after, or you can visit us on bluetoastmasters.org. Come see us on the second Tuesday of every month. We would love to see you and have you. Second Friday. Too many cocktails tonight. At the Stadium Club in Chandler. Thank you. All right, I'm going to turn this back over because I'm not as good as Paul Bertaforte on stage. I'm better like way behind the scenes, so I'm going to turn this back over to Paul to announce the winners. No, we're going to do the 50-50 after the winners. That way you all stay. I do know that we raised $608, so a 50-50 winner will win $304. And a couple things with the competitors. We do judge the contest like a regular contest, so it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Unfortunately, 2 of our contestants tonight disqualified on time. So I'm going to hand it over to Paul so we can get to the exciting part of this meeting. And here's Paul.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol. We had great competitors tonight, and the winner tonight will be the MC next year. Isn't that right? So the winner tonight will be the MC next year. So that's going to be fun. Okay, so are we ready to hear the winners? Okay. Third place. Kristen Ramondo! Oh, Kristen! Come on down this way, down this way. Oh. I smell something as she's coming down. Did anybody smell anything? I see a little contrail. There's a little contrail coming. All right, Kristen! Oh! Congratulations. You can have this. There you go, Kristen! Oh! Okay, I need another drum roll. Every one of these guys get a drum roll. Our second place winner is Nick Cardino. Oh, Nick. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Come on down, Nick. All right, Nicky, baby. Come on up here, Nick. Yeah, brother, congratulations. Okay, now, the first place winner and our MC for next year. Big drum roll, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Pettit! All right, great job, Chris. You got to clean this up when you get finished here. You know. Come on back. Good job. Good job. Chris, you're Oh, okay. Okay, get your tickets out. Get your tickets out.
What's our number say?
Okay, before you pull the ticket, you know how French Connection, United Kingdom, pretty obvious to figure it out? So what is this that I have on? How do you see that? Oh, is that well hidden or what? I got this from a comedian that was here. PJ, were you here? Did you see it? Oh. Okay, ready. The winner of $304 and the person who's picking up most of the alcohol for tonight is...
We didn't write anyone's name on it. I have to read the number, Paul. 0, 2, 5, 4, 7, 7. I have a huge stack of tickets there. You guys should check your own. 0, 2, 5, 4, 7, 7.
There's the money. Yeah. You gotta show the ticket. What's your name? Congratulations to Patricia! Woo! Okay, Carol, you say goodbye.
All right, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I really enjoyed this evening. I hope you did too. And we'll see you in October of 2022 right here at the Tempe Improv. So have a great night. Thank you all for coming, and come to Blue where laughter is always guaranteed.